Alright, so this is what we did to try to get a shot inside the sandblasting booth.
This is a Spark Cycles Bandit.
That's not just any Spark Cycle Works Bandit. That's my Spark Cycle Works Bandit.
And here we have a custom wheel, Johnny's custom wheel. It's a special wheel because it's gonna have a couple of colors. Hey, how you doing? My name is Carlos. This is my brother Diego. We're owners and founders of ArcaneMoto. We're a powder coating shop located in Brooklyn, New York. We've been powder coating professionally for a little bit over 10 years. In this location, we're 10 years. It started as a passion and not really as a job or a career for us. We were always into bicycles, motorcycles. About 12 years ago, we started riding motorcycles heavily with a group of friends. It stemmed off from a hobby to doing it professionally now for 10 years.
As kids, we always were into bicycles, always into riding with friends, and also building stuff, personalizing, customizing, making it also be an individual. The bike match the individual, and that's kind of what we want to do, and that's part of how our name also stems from, ArcaneMoto. Basically, you know, buying a stock bicycle, motorcycle, we didn't want to have the same bike as everybody else. We wanted to have our own thing, our own style, our own look. We decided to get a garage, and you know, we decided to start getting into powder coating and looking stuff on the internet, little things, and then we got a small oven, and then we got a couple of pieces, small motorcycle parts, and we started powder coating our personal stuff,
Our friend stuff,
and we got kind of known in our circle, and it was always a hobby. It stayed to the side for a while. We still had our careers going on at that moment, and little by little, we just kind of were drawn more into the scene. The motorcycle scene was really different in the early 2010, 2011 in Brooklyn and in New York City for that matter. And we kind of just found our way through it for a couple of years and kept on growing our hobby and our interest. We learn every day something new techniques. That's the value in our work.
That's what we take pride in. Not saying that we know everything, but always being open to learning and open to new ideas. Because I think one of the biggest hurdles with people customizing stuff is that they're not open to new ideas, or they just want to follow along with what they already see, not being able to express their own ideas. Powder is basically a plastic that is ground down to a powder and is applied, and so since plastic has more flex, it's more durable in impact, more impact resistant. It's also chemical resistance, so it works great on, you know, if you get in a gas tank, for example, it can take the gas, but if you don't clean the gas, just like any other surface, the gas will start eating through the material and through the paint. If you leave something sitting in the beach 24/7, you're gonna see the damage of the salt. If you leave something in the sun, direct sunlight 24/7, it's gonna have a wear. So there is wear and tear.
You know, certain things are okay. You know, like a desk lamp is not gonna get the same abuse as a car wheel. So all that information we like to know, because then that's what makes us different from other powder coating shop. We want to know that stuff, so in case you ask me a question, I could give you the right information and tell me, yes, this chair's, just powder coat this chair black. It's not that simple. Where's this chair gonna be? Are you taking it to your house in the Hamptons, or are you gonna just put it outside in your apartment here?
Or it's gonna be indoors?
It's gonna be indoors. So those things are something that we take seriously, and we ask these questions, which makes our business better on the long run. And because that person is going to feel more confident in their product that we give them, they're going to know the limitations of that product also.
So So powder coating, you can powder coat a lot of different things with different equipment, plastics, composites, wood, but it's a different setup, different equipment. But we are set up to powder coat metals. So anything that's metal, anything that we can handle in our shop, we can powder coat. Whether it's aluminum, it's steel, titanium, brass, copper, anything metal that can withstand the curing process in the oven, we can powder coat.
We get so many different, we're fortunate enough to do so many different cool projects involving from art pieces that, you know, have traveled the world to little, we do coffee makers, lamps,
mugs.
Yeah, we have mugs. We do bicycle pumps. We do everything, and there's so much. I believe New York is different than many other places because there's so much of that type of creativity all around in a small space, and
a lot more people, a lot more ideas floating around. So that's also great. And honestly, when we started the business, when we officially made it a business, we thought the idea of the business was going to be based around motorcycles. And really, we were really into sport bikes and you know, choppers and stuff like that. So we thought it was going to be motorcycles. So our powder coating idea was we're going to powder coat motorcycles. That's why the name ArcaneMoto started from. So that's why we kind of kept the name, but eventually we expanded to not just doing motorcycles. So we took on other projects, like he said, like furniture, anything. Basically, powder coating, what we specialize in is powder coating metals.
We've done faucets, we've done gurneys, we've done a lot of vintage stuff from the 50s.
So a radiator?
Radiators.
Radiators are common in New York.
We did a bicycle that was World War II bicycle.
Oh, that they used in the skydiving.
They used when they skydived a soldier, and the bike was one of they would just.
In World War II, they skydived in Europe with the bicycles, a folding bike, the army issued bike. The paratroopers
outside of France or something like that, and they would ride the bicycle, dump the bicycle, and keep on going on their mission. So we had a client that he had his hands on one of those, and we were fortunate enough to help him restore it to what he wanted to, which was, you know, kind of close to a factory color.
Our foundation of the business is, you know, we keep it a family business. We both run it, we both own it. It's a family business. My dad helps us out also sometimes. So we try to keep it small because we have more control over it, and
our quality control is a big part of it.
The communication between brothers, obviously, you know, we're also best friends, so we have a communication that I don't think I'll be able to find with someone that's not my relative or my little brother, you know.
Bicycles, I don't know how to take them apart.
Right.
But I do have that interest of making it unique, making it my own.
Right.
So you guys paint. I met the guys over at Powerful Lithium. They take the shit apart. It's like a family
and they go together with anything on that level of a build
or
customization.
Those relationships are important. Like, we have a relationship with them, so we can talk to him. I could talk to V. We can call V and ask him, V, this is a part I've never done before for Sauron, for or whatever it is. V, is this need to be taken apart? Do you want this coated like this? Do you want this mask? Is this what function does it have? How is this going to affect it installation? How is it going to affect it in use? This is a metallic blue, so again, this is has a flake, metallic flake on it. So it really glistens with the sunlight. So it's not just a blue. So the idea was white and blue, and this is not just a white. I don't know if it comes across on the camera, but this is a metallic white also with some flake in it. And so that's part of educating or showing the customer the options.
We kind of showed him the options and help him on his build and explain to him what needed to be done and what's going to make it easier for him and more cost effective at the end, because, you know, it's going to take somebody time. If certain areas of the bike are powder coated, somebody's going to take the time to clean it out if we don't do it before all this the project is done, for like the race clearance for the bottom of the fork, you know. we make sure that that's not going to be an issue when they put a new race into the bike. Seat post. When you put the seat post, you want your seat post to be able to slide up and down, no problem.
And like, see, this is, sorry to cut you off, this is part of the education. It's like some people don't know that this race can be removed, or that some bikes have it built in, or that that's an additional part they need to build it. Some people just imagine the bearing. As crazy as it sounds, some people don't know, which is okay. We don't all know everything. But this clearance is important to fit the existing race or a new race, a new headset. So it has to be clean. It has to also look presentable and has to look good. So we take the time to put that finish on the raw steel. You want to show them what one without?
This is a factory fork. Again, it's clean as far as for the piece to fit in, but ideally it's not a clean finish. As far as
this is the factory paint. So again, some people would suggest that if it's, as long as it's factory, it has to be the best finish. If it comes from the factory, if it comes from the manufacturer, it has to be the best finish. That's not the case with 90% of the manufacturers. That's not the case. The manufacturer, the bike builders, motorcycle builders, they're not there to powder coat. They're there to sell the bike, which is fine. But this is a manufacturer or a paint job, and it's also powder coat. But you can see the difference. So the masking or anything overspray. So if you think just because it's from a manufacturer, it's done the right way or it's the best optimal coat, that's not always the case. This here is much stronger than the manufacturer paint. You know, this is much stronger, much durable than this will ever be. Our process for prepping it is totally different. These are the brake bosses. These are where the parts of the brake get mounted to. So they need to be removed. Some people don't know that some of them you can remove. They unscrew and remove them. The proper way to powder coat it is to remove it, because those also can be replaced, repaired, or removed totally later on. So you don't want to paint it with the brake boss on. So again, that's thinking of the future, thinking from the builder's perspective, thinking from the customer's perspective. What if they need to do maintenance? I don't want to paint it. I could paint it with the brake boss and mask it, but it's not the right way to do it. Taking the extra time to remove it, to mask it, to clean it, to properly mask it prior to blasting is also important. This is aluminum. If you are too harsh on the threads, or you blast directly into the threads, they will strip. They will strip. A lot of people don't know that. Someone that doesn't specialize in bicycle frames or motorcycle parts or anything, they won't know that these are sensitive or that they need to be rethreaded. So this is important part of powder coating. The proper masking, not just for the paint, but also for the prep. This is another part here to consider in masking. As an example, this is the bottom bracket shell. This is, you have this on bicycles. All bicycles have a bottom bracket shell, and also e-bikes. E-bikes have this also. This is where the bottom bracket goes into, and then your cranks, your spindles go through here. This is again aluminum. The threads are very fine, and if you're not careful, you can blast the threads away. You can take the threads off, and then you won't be able to put your bottom bracket back on. Again, the main thing we focus on is being able to have the bike or any part back to the builder, back to the customer, for them to have no issue putting it together. They shouldn't have to start trying to tap this or finding a tap for it or taking it to a bike shop to try to strip the thing. You don't want to be scraping, you don't want to be stripping. No, we want you to take the frame. You're excited to have your new frame. You want to put it together. You don't want to think about the powder coat. All we want you to do is admire the powder coat, appreciate it, but then it's time to build. You got to build it. You don't want to think about, oh, these guys painted my bottom bracket shell. Oh, they covered it with powder. Now what am I going to do? You know, we don't want to have in those situations. Our goal is to make it better than factory. Cleaner. This is clean inside. If you look inside, that is not stained, it's not dirty, it doesn't have overspray, it's clean. You can eat off it. That's another thing we say. You can eat off our things, off our products we powder coat. The seat post, obviously, the headset, all these things in this example are important, and these are also, they tie into also motorcycles and e-bikes. The Saurons, any other bike, they will have the same type of masking. There's headsets, there's bearings, there's brakes, there's metal on metal contact. All those things have to be addressed. And then also the color, it's a specific color. It's actually a custom color because it's a metallic, it's a white metallic with pearls. So it's a little custom job here my brother did. It's a mixture of different colors that we created for this look. And then with that, you know, there's a lot of color options. We stock a couple hundred colors in stock. These are the most popular, and this is usually we use this as a starting point. There's different textures, different colors. Literally, there's thousands of colors available in powder coat. We can order from all the top manufacturers we have accounts with. So it's any color you wish. Sometimes it takes time to color match something. Sometimes it has to be sent out. Sometimes we have to dig deep, but options are out there. So whenever you guys are ready or interested in powder coating or learning more about powder coating or seeing the possibilities you can do with your project, feel free to come down. We can have a chat and meet and then go over all the possibilities, all the options available. I think it's important to physically be here, and I know sometimes it's tough, but bring the project in, we'll take a look at it, and we'll show you what's out there and what can be done. Just to give you an idea of what stuff looks like when it gets here, this is a track bike. It's pretty beat up. It has wear and tear, obviously. For example, the chain where they locked it up, it gave the bike a beating. So obviously it's a commuter, it needs to be retouched, it needs to be repainted. And this is also another consideration. We ask, is there a commuter? Is it going to be exposed to sunlight? Those are questions you need to know. Obviously a bike is going to be exposed to sunlight, but for certain colors react different to light. So this is what it looks like. You can see the bottom bracket has been removed. Obviously the headsets, the bearings have been removed. All these areas must be removed in order to powder coat. Bottom brackets, bearings. And one thing the client didn't know was that you can remove these, or that they should be removed to do a proper powder coating job. So these things he didn't remove, or he couldn't remove them. So we will remove that prior to painting, and then they will get masked and they will get put back on so they can look back to stock. So that's another example of just giving that customer knowledge and awareness of the proper way to do it. We have another example here. This is Super 73. The same process. The bike came in, it's gonna get a color change, custom color. The same process. It has to be completely taken apart. The easiest way to think about this is that anything that can get damaged with heat or burn in the oven, you have to remove. Plastic, moving parts, they have to be removed. So everything has to be removed. The headset has to be removed. Bottom bracket obviously has to be removed. All the screws we want to remove prior to painting. Anything that's add-on has to be removed. And you can see here, this is the stock masking from Super 73.
Is it a good job?
It's an okay job. And also, again, the easiest way is to powder coat everything, but this is important. Metal on metal contact, especially with the rear, with the dropouts, is important, especially if it's a modified bike. You need to have proper contact, proper clearances. So this has to be masked. This is, again, that's considered a custom job. After that, the process is really stripping the paint off and getting it blasted. We have here a Bandit. This is a Spark Cycle Bandit. It's they come in black. It was black. It's been stripped, chemically stripped. This is aluminum. It's been stripped. It's now raw. So from this process, there's a few more processes. With powder coating, the bulk of the labor is in the prep. The bulk of the work is the prep. 95% is prep. So if you don't have a proper surface, a proper setup, the powder coating, it gets affected. You're not gonna have a proper powder coating. So this is stripped from, after it's chemically stripped, it's washed, and it will have a few processes before it gets sandblasted. This will get sandblasted, like I said before. We mask certain areas that are sensitive to the blasting, and they need to be left clear before powder coating. So this is,
that's not just any spark cycle expanded. It's my spark cycle expanded.
and it has a long way to go because there's a lot of custom stuff on it. So it's just the beginning, and it's going back to custom work. So that's also important. Johnny knew what he wanted. So prior to even starting powder coating, we had to discuss all the extra manufacturing he's going to do on it, all the modifications he's going to do to it, because we wanted, once he figured that out and got it all sorted out, then we were going to paint it. Because again, going back to putting it together and having a finished product, all those modifications, brackets, mounting holes, cutting has to be done prior to painting. So those are things to consider when you're going deep into customization in powder coating or any type of finish work. The modifications, the welds, the brackets, the mounting holes, that has to be all thought out and mocked before powder coating. It's more time, obviously it's more money, it's all of those things, but to get the right, proper finish, that's the way to do it. So this is some of the stuff we got sandblasting or in the process of sandblasting. It still will need some more prep for the masking, for the clean surfaces, the mounting surfaces, the bearing surfaces, all the bolt threads, all that stuff still needs to be prepped. So we're almost there at this point after the blasting. So this is just a little bit to give you an idea of the variation of stuff you can do also. You know, this car part, this is from a Porsche, a vintage Porsche car. This is some Toyota wheels, Sauron, some custom furniture, some vintage patio furniture. So anything that's metal, you can powder coat, and that's pretty much it when it comes to color. Right here we have an example of car wheels. They're from the same model, the same car. This is on the right showing you what it looks like when it's stripped. These were originally gray, a dark gray. So the paint has been chemically stripped. It had a chemical bath, and it's on its way to being sandblasted. This is a sandblasted wheel, so it's getting closer to powder coat. It needs to be masked in the back, and it will have primer and the top coat. It's a single color. One big thing is that we like to include primer in our pricing. And primer helps with adhesion, protection. Obviously, it serves as a barrier for corrosion. So that's something to consider too when you're looking for powder coating. Do they use primer? A lot of people tell you you don't need it. Technically, you don't. But from experience, from protecting car parts, motorcycle parts, primer helps with longevity of the part, and like I said, it serves as a corrosion inhibitor. So primer is important.
All right, so this is what we did to try to get a shot inside the sandblasting booth.
We have this steel swing arm. We're gonna remove the adjusters from right here, and these guys have been already outgassed, so they're gonna get sandblasted with aluminum oxide, and we'll show you guys the process of doing that. This is the swing arm and the adjusters. We're gonna take care of those guys, and then next step would be to mask them and get everything plugged up as far as any threads, any mounting surfaces for bearings, anything past them, anything. So this will be where we'll start as far as blasting.
All right, so we're going in.
Yes.
We're going in now.
This is an example of another car wheel that we did as a sample, but just to show you, like, another thing that we like to always mention and include is that we coat the entire barrel, inside and out. It's masked inside the pad, and everything is powder coated. We try to leave minimal mounting marks. So if you look at this, there's no chain mark, no wire marks, very minimal. You will have a hard time finding where we hung it from. And again, in this one, it has the board bed logo. So there's a lot of effects you can do with the powder coating. You can do two tones, you can do metallic. This is another example of metallic orange with actually like a light red flake. And it's very durable, and everything is covered. So this is another example of a wheel. This is a motorcycle wheel. And it's basically to highlight the importance of masking, proper masking and cleaning. This wheel has to be masked to have metal on metal contact with the sprocket. I'm sorry, this is where the brake rotor goes. This is the brake rotor goes in here, so it has to be masked and clean. The same thing with the bearings. Bearings have to be removed prior to powder coating. And this has to be kept clean, has to be kept immaculate, so the bearings could be mounted back on, pressed back on. Same thing on the other side. This is cush drive. And there's also another bearing, a couple of O-rings go in here, and the cush drive goes in here. It's important to mask, it's important to keep clean, pristine, so you can press the bearings back in. The bearings have to fit tight. The bearings have to be removed. And this is also another thing we educate customers on is, if you're gonna do a wheel, especially one that's been ridden for a while, this is a good time to replace bearings. Also, sometimes these bearings are lodged in there and they take a beating being taken out. You shouldn't use the same bearings. You went this far to take your bike apart, to get the wheel here. You spend this money to get it powder coated, and you're not gonna change the bearings? It's time to change the bearings. Again, these are parts of the things you wanna have a discussion with your powder coater, your builder. These things that should be discussed and should be, you should be informed of. You know, they might seem minuscule, but they're important, especially on high performance fast bikes. And again, this is all powder coated, the whole barrel. Some people we have some people that say, oh, but you never see this, why am I paying for this? Like, why powder coat this? You don't never see it. And I'm sure in the comments people will say, oh, you never see that part anyway, the tire goes over it. I'm fine with that. Well, we're not the shop for you. I'm sorry to say it. We're not the shop for you if that's what you think. This is the right way to do it. This is better than manufacturer. It looks nicer. You could even hang it on your wall. But that's my little rant on powder coating the barrel. As you can see, I'm passionate about powder coating the whole wheel. And here we have a custom wheel, Johnny's custom wheel. It's a special wheel because it's gonna have a couple of colors. At least two-tone. So it's the same concept of the motorcycle wheel. We will do all the prep prior to sandblasting, and then it's going to get sandblasted. We'll have to remove the hub. Again, you will say, why remove the hub? You don't need to. Well, you're thinking about the future, rebuilding or servicing it. So you have to have a nice clean lines when you're powder coating it. Again, thinking about service. The same thing. So the hubs will be done separately. The hubs will be taken off. The bolts will not be powder coated. Again, you don't want to cake them on with powder coat. You have to be able to service it. And they'll be masked inside the wheel and on the hub. It will have two colors. Those will show later on. And it's going to be a real fun project. Again, real custom. It's going to be different, and that's what we want to do. Just a little different than what you see out there.
Hey guys, we want to thank Johnny for coming by today and letting us show him and you guys what we do here at ArcaneMoto and how we could help you customize your future projects.
You can always find us on Instagram, ArcaneMoto, or you can contact us through email, arcanemoto@gmail.com. Phone numbers also on the Instagram, or check out arcanemoto.com. My Instagram is ArcaneBikes. Feel free to reach out anytime with any questions, either through email or visit us in the shop here in Brooklyn, New York, right in East New York, right off the Jackie Robinson. So feel free to visit, feel free to check out the colors, bring in your project, let us look at it anytime. We're open Monday through Friday. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for
Johnny.
trusting us with the project. I'm excited to see your bike, and please keep an eye out for that video. It was really cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Johnny.
Marker.
All right, give me the mic a couple seconds. I might do some little behind the scenes.
I'm sweating over here.
Marker.
Suck it in.
You guys are good.